The Nintendo 64 may bring up memories of classic games like GoldenEye and Mario 64, but one thing you probably don't think of when you hear Nintendo 64 is online connectivity, something that outside of the short-lived Japan-exclusive RANnet online service for the N64 disk drive, the Nintendo 64 largely missed out on. But Interact, the makers of the popular GameShark line of cheat devices, set out to change that with their ambitious new creation, Sharkwire Online, a unique attempt to bring the internet to the Nintendo 64.
You know, these were back in the days of AOL and awful dial-up internet. We were just kind of brainstorming with our development team that was in Manchester, England. And I just said, hey, you know, what if we did this?
You don't need internet connection. What you need is a Nintendo 64, a phone line, and a television. I mean, this box has it all. I mean, you've got your connection cords, the modem, the keyboard, everything that you need from your own room to dial into this virtual world.
Released nationwide in the US on January 1st, 2000, Sharkwire Online came bundled with a PS2 keyboard and a custom cartridge with a built-in modem. But Sharkwire was more than just hardware. It was a closed internet service, a curated walled garden designed to provide a safe and controlled online experience for young gamers. Users only needed to pay a monthly fee, attach a licensed N64 game to the back of the Sharkwire cartridge in order to bypass the Nintendo 64 security, and you were online. With Sharkwire, you could directly download the latest GameShark codes, get news on movies, music, sports, and games. Users could also participate in discussion forums, share their game saves with other people, or even send an email to anyone in the world from their very own @sharkwire.com email address. It was a fascinating concept, meant to introduce kids to the online world in a secure environment. And at first, Sharkwire showed some promise. It made a strong debut at E3 1999. A PlayStation version was announced, Sharkwire Online received coverage in multiple magazines, IGN.com did an exclusive interview with the head of Interact about it, and Sharkwire Online launched with a cinematic TV commercial and a print advertising campaign. But today, hardly anyone even knows it existed. Featuring interviews I conducted with former Interact employee and Sharkwire contributor Jason Dvorak of GameRave TV, as well as with the founder of Interact himself, Todd Hayes. In this video, we're going to take a look at Interact's ill-fated attempt to turn the Nintendo 64 into a hybrid version of AOL and Web TV with a dash of GameShark, and how it was both ahead of its time in some ways, but also too late to the party. This is a story of Sharkwire Online.
I mean, the coolest thing about Sharkwire is like really with your modem and a keyboard, all through your Nintendo 64, this whole thing becomes a communication center.
Throughout the 90s and early 2000s, Interact was a major force in the video game accessory market. Their catalog was massive, including controllers, light guns, memory cards, racing wheels, AV cables, adapters, and a whole lot more. But they were probably best known for their GameShark line of cheat devices, which were based on the action replay devices originally developed by the English-based company Daytel, which is the company out of Manchester Todd was referring to partnering with earlier in the video. By 1999, Interact was riding a big wave of success, and according to Interact president Todd Hayes, had cornered 71% of the video game accessory market. On May 12th of the same year, Interact announced their Sharkwire Online device and service with a press release and advertisements in Game Week magazine, inviting industry professionals and the media to see Sharkwire's debut firsthand at their E3 booth. At E3, Interact promoted Sharkwire Online for both the Nintendo 64 and PlayStation. The PlayStation Sharkwire was shown in a video presentation, and boxes for the N64 and PlayStation versions were also on display. However, the PlayStation version of Sharkwire Online seemingly vanished after its E3 presentation. Although the December 1999 issue of PSM Magazine stated that it would go on sale in March, the PlayStation Sharkwire was never released. After our initial interview, I reached out to Todd and was able to confirm that the PlayStation Sharkwire wasn't released due to the low sales for the Nintendo 64 Sharkwire. He also mentioned that Interact felt that the PlayStation audience skewed older and wouldn't be interested in a walled-off internet service like kids would. Later in mid-2000, Interact's business partner Daytel also advertised a similar device for the PlayStation called WorldPort that let you send and receive emails and download game saves. It appears that this PlayStation device also wasn't released, but Daytel did release a version of WorldPort for the Game Boy Color and Pocket.
WorldPort is an amazing all-in-one email solution that lets you send and receive emails using your handheld. It's easy to use too. It simply plugs into your Game Boy Advance or Color like a regular game cartridge. When you're ready to send your message, just connect WorldPort to any telephone socket using the cable provided.
That's right, email on your Game Boy. As for Sharkwire, after a small test market launch in November of 1999 in Dallas, Minneapolis, and Atlanta, Sharkwire was released nationwide on January 1st of 2000.
I know why I chose those markets, because of course Best Buy and Target are located in Minneapolis. Right? So I was trying to get their attention by doing it there.
Sharkwire's marketing campaign was targeted at kids 7 to 14 years old. Various sites claimed that Sharkwire had a $5 to $10 million marketing campaign, but Todd clarified that that wasn't the case.
No, we only spent $500,000 on advertising and we could only do it regionally. I had sold the company to a public company that was watching everything I was doing at that point. I was technically CEO of a division of a public company called Rekaton, and all I could convince them was, hey, we're going to spend $500,000 on TV, and we're going to get this thing going regionally, and we did that.
The marketing campaign included various ads for print and that cinematic TV commercial.
Let's go. Where's the kid?
He's upstairs.
When they come to take your computer away, make sure you carry on like a crazed, bloodthirsty maniac.
Hey, what are you guys doing?
Your hacking days are over.
No!
Because when they realize you didn't use it to steal all the secrets of the gaming industry,
There's nothing here.
What?
I don't know what to tell you.
you and your Sharkwire Online better be on a slow boat to China.
Hi!
Suddenly, you know too much.
There's almost no footage of Sharkwire Online in action. What we do have comes from promotional videos uploaded in 2010 by Interact's former director of marketing, J. Randy Gordon. I reached out to J. Randy Gordon and another Interact employee that worked on Sharkwire for an interview, but I didn't get a response. But if it wasn't for Gordon's uploads, we wouldn't even have any footage of Sharkwire connected. So if you're watching this, thank you. Sharkwire screenshots are also sparse, and those I found in magazines and promotional materials are skewed or in low resolution. I've done my best to clean them up, but please forgive their quality and my reuse of some screenshots and footage. Since Sharkwire wasn't licensed by Nintendo, it was missing the CIC security chip required by the N64 to run officially licensed titles. Sharkwire got around this by having the user insert an officially licensed N64 game into the back of it, basically borrowing that game's CIC chip to bypass the Nintendo 64 security. The phone line and keyboard would be connected at the top of the Sharkwire cartridge, which would then go into the console's cartridge slot, and your N64 controller would be used to navigate menus and links. Once you turned on your Nintendo 64, you would need to enter your account password to dial into Sharkwire's servers. GTE, who later merged with Bell Atlantic to become Verizon in June of 2000, provided the network used for the local dial-up numbers. GTE's network covered about 87% of the country. Now, if you were in the other 13%, you would presumably need to pay long distance to dial into Sharkwire. GTE actually seemed optimistic about Sharkwire, going as far as including a section promoting their partnership as part of an ad supplement that they put out in Forbes' December 13, 1999 issue. The Sharkwire box provided a lot of information, including how parents would go about signing up for the service. According to the back of the box, parents would need to call a phone number where they would provide their credit card info to open an account. signing up directly on the device itself was not an option. The box also states that the basic plan costs $9.95 a month for 10 hours of access, but that there are other plans available. 10 hours doesn't sound like a lot of time, but in a 1999 interview, Interact president Todd Hayes clarified that the clock wasn't constantly running against those hours. When you're connected, you're not really connected until you want to do something. You're not using your internet time that much. When you're doing email, until you hit send, you're not on the internet. You're not doing it all online. When you bring in the news, it'll send it to you and then you have it. When you're on the sites and surfing, you're online and the meter is running. You use the N64 controller to navigate, and the memory card is where you'll store your emails. According to GameShark's magazine Dangerous Waters, there was a service plan that gave you 30 hours of access, but a price isn't mentioned. The $9.95 basic plan included 5 Sharkwire.com email addresses, and emails weren't restricted like the web access, so users could send and receive emails with anyone in the world. GameShark codes you uploaded to or downloaded from the service would be stored in your N64 memory pack, which you would later use to transfer the codes to your actual GameShark. The memory pack was also used to store emails and game saves you downloaded from or shared to Sharkwire. The 4MB RAM expansion pack was required to use Sharkwire Online, a requirement that Interact placed prominently on the box. To reduce costs, Sharkwire used a 14.4K modem, which was much slower than the 56K PC modems that were already on the market. The content partner websites such as PrimaGames.com essentially looked the same on Sharkwire Online as they would on a PC. Interact optimized the sites for the device, but slow loading times were still an issue.
Yeah, you literally see it like Lego bricks just being assembled in real time, just hoping for the best.
It was the same. I think the only difference was, it was, let's just say it would ultimately be the same, but remember how it was pixelized, you know what I mean? Like as you were downloading, it was pretty slow. Like there would be a little delay there in your next full view, Now, and if you had a good computer, you were already not having to deal with that.
Sharkwire's content and website partners included GamePro, Insight.com, IDOS, Fox Interactive, Capcom, Jones Soda, Airwalk, and UPN. But there were other companies and even individuals that provided exclusive content for Sharkwire Online.
I was running my fanzine, and for the kids out there that don't know what that is, that's when you print a bunch of things and Xerox them and staple them together and mail them to people. I made a partnership with a fellow that I did not know was working at Interact at the time. He had his own GameShark code site where he and a bunch of other people were doing their own codes away from Interact. I found his site. I was like, hey, do you mind if I use your codes in my fanzine? He's like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And a few months passed, and all of a sudden, an editor from GameShark emails me out of nowhere and says, hey, so-and-so gave me a copy of your fanzine. You do really cool stuff. We have this thing called Sharkwire coming up. Would you like to contribute your content to it? And I was like, oh, okay. And then next thing I knew, my, crappy little fanzine, I didn't have a website yet, was on this professional internet kids thing, and it was the craziest thing.
During my conversations with Todd, it was clear that he and his team at Interact took protecting kids from inappropriate content on the internet very seriously. Interact even described Sharkwire as an internet on training wheels for kids between 7 and 14 years old in a Sharkwire feature in Q64 magazine. Unfortunately, Interact's strict restrictions meant that many sites that were probably considered okay for kids wouldn't be available. And although reviewers generally saw the limited access as a negative, Interact used the restrictions as a major selling point for parents in their promotional material.
From a parent's perspective, this is a secure environment. Once you're in, you're in. We pretty much locked everything out that's bad about the internet and kept all the cool video game stuff in.
Parents could also set usage time limits for Sharkwire. This limited internet, including the various message boards available on Sharkwire, would be navigated with a Spyglass device mosaic web browser using standard HTML, HTTP, and TCP/IP protocols. Another really nice feature that's also highlighted in the Sharkwire promotional video is the Vortex.
One of the greatest features of this web environment that we've created is the Vortex. I really love this one because you can't even find this anywhere on the web today. It gives you the ability to punch in your favorite game title. Let's say we wanted to see NFL Game Day, and pull up all the information on that game title that we have in our website.
Although Sharkwire Online was only released in the US, its cartridge's unique design came courtesy of the UK's Daytel. This wasn't really unusual. Interact and Daytel have a long and complicated history of rebranding products, particularly their cheat devices, under numerous different names and even different companies. The Sharkwire cartridge shell design is repurposed from Daytel's Game Booster cartridge. Game Booster was a device that let you play Game Boy games on your Nintendo 64, and like Sharkwire, requires an N64 game to be inserted into the back of it to bypass Nintendo's security. Game Booster was only released in Europe, but it later made its way to the States as the rebranded GB Hunter, as well as a few other names. At the time of Sharkwire's release, Nintendo 64 and PlayStation Game Sharks were usually priced at around $50. So with Sharkwire's upfront cost of $79.95 for the hardware and another $9.95 a month from its subscribers, one would think that Interact's plan was to make money, if not off the hardware, certainly from the monthly service. But in that 1999 interview with IGN, Interact president and CEO Todd Hayes revealed a financial strategy that sounds more like something you would hear in 2025. We're not really making any money on the hardware, and we're making a pittance on the actual monthly subscriber fee. Where we expect to make money, quite honestly, is we're going to go to the software companies and say, hey, we've got 250,000 kids reading their email every day. How'd you like to plop a little ad there that says, come buy Madden 2000? Available in 9 days. It's very targeted. We'll know if it's a boy. We'll know if it's a girl. We'll have their demographic when they sign up. When mom and dad sign up, or when the kid signs up, we'll have that information. So we'll be able to go and do laser-focused marketing. We'll make some money on that. We'd like to think that if we can point traffic towards EB or Toys R Us or whatever website is selling products, we can gain a commission on that. Interact also had plans to have an online shopping section on Sharkwire, where, for example, users could be directed to Electronics Boutique's website to pre-order a game or make a purchase using an allowance set by the parents. Interact would in turn receive a commission from these purchases. This purchase allowance feature didn't have a chance to be implemented. In fact, it appears that even a few months after its release, Sharkwire was already underperforming. A review of Sharkwire from April of 2000 mentioned that the price for the hardware was now just $39.95, a 50% reduction only 4 months after its release. If Interact was not really making any money on the hardware when it was $80, they were certainly losing money on it now. Do you have any idea how many Sharkwire units were produced or sold?
Yeah, we produced, I think it was 32,000. I think we normally would open every product that we would open with was 50,000, but I think I shut off production at 32.
Do you know if all 32,000 of those sold? Because I know Sharkwire didn't do well.
I'm certain they all sold because the retailers were I was giving them markdown money for 2 years later. Just making them go down to you mentioned $40. Well, I pushed it down to $9.99 to make them all go away. For example, Circuit City, I would sell them, $1 million worth of stuff. And here I'm making, I'm making 350,000 in profit. And then I would just say, hey, okay, listen, take 35 grand and mark down your Sharkwires down to $9.99 and make them go away. Because everything goes away at $9.99,
The same review praises Sharkwire's email implementation, but isn't so complimentary towards the rest of the service, including the Vortex feature, stating, once online, I could search for cheats and codes for a variety of games. The site's database, though, was limited. Game articles, reviews, cheats, and tips are sparse. On links to popular games such as GoldenEye 007, Soul Calibur, and Gran Turismo 2, the search engine came up empty each time. Other users have expressed similar disappointment. Besides games, there are several other youth-oriented areas such as sports, movies, music, and fashion. The articles are well written and often witty, but the lack of depth and variety within each area stands out again. In one of the reviews that I read, and just To give you some context, this is in April of 2000 when the price had been dropped to $40. Interact told the reviewer that they were considering adding a faster modem, allowing users full internet access, and adding online multiplayer gaming features.
Someone in our marketing department probably thought that that would be an interesting way to at least have a games tie-in. You know, I don't know if that was that well thought through. I think we were just trying to, you know, blow out the remaining pieces that we'd built to make sure that, you know, Daytel at least can cover all the development costs.
Unfortunately, the few Sharkwire reviews I found were on the negative side, though I think most of them somewhat unfairly compared Sharkwire to an adult's access to the full internet on a PC, which was neither its target audience or intent. But as the May 2000 issue of EGM's review pointed out, the lack of overall content was an issue. Even though the Sharkwire package gives you a modem, keyboard, and a chance to do something truly interesting with your N64, there isn't a whole lot to look at once you get on the limited Sharkwire website. The technology isn't quite there yet, even though it's a wonderful concept.
We didn't have our content game going at all, right? There really wasn't a whole lot that you could do with the product. Regretfully, outside of emailing, it was kind of boring, you know?
As time went on, the Interact guy messaged me again and said, hey, just give you a heads up, you're actually one of the most prolific content creators on the Sharkwire. Would you like a job working for us? And I was like, sure. By the time I got to the office, the Sharkwire was kind of like not dead, but it was already like on its way out. I knew things were in trouble when the Game Shark guy, before I was hired, said that I was one of the most prolific content creators for the thing. And I was like, if PSM and the other actual companies are under me, I think we have a problem here.
The few articles about Sharkwire on the internet, including Wikipedia, all say that Sharkwire was discontinued in 2003 when Mad Catz acquired Interact's trademarks. But the truth is that it didn't last anywhere near that long. Using the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, I was able to determine that by May 11th, 2000, Sharkwire.com had already begun redirecting to GameShark.com, where there was no mention of Sharkwire. Interact's corporate website had a technical support page that was separate from what you would see on Interact's other various product sites. And as of June 20th, 2000, email and phone numbers for Sharkwire technical support were still listed there. The next time this support site was archived was on October 9th, 2000, and by then, all mentions of Sharkwire had been removed. So Sharkwire Online went offline sometime between June 20th and October 9th of 2000, which Todd later confirmed during our interview.
I think it lasted until about 6 months after that last movement that you mentioned. And I think that coincided with the bankruptcy of Rekaton. They pretty much shut down any and all support channels for anything because they were liquidating at that point, you know.
But definitely sometime in 2000,
yes.
Between June and October, that sounds about right.
Yes.
Interact had actually been working towards releasing Sharkwire, then called NetShark, in December of 1998. The monthly service was still going to cost $9.95, but the hardware was a bit more expensive at $95, though it was going to include both a keyboard and a mouse. Its launch was delayed due to connectivity issues Daytel ran into while developing Sharkwire's hardware, as well as Interact and their legal counsel taking some time to sort out what level of access to the internet they'd give users. We wouldn't hear about this product again until Sharkwire's 1999 press release, which said it'd be available September of that year. But it wasn't actually released nationwide until January of 2000, when it was probably too late into the Nintendo 64's life cycle for it to really have a chance. After all, the GameCube would be coming to North America the next year, and, well, there were better options for getting online in 2000. PCs and internet service continued to become more affordable, and in the console space, Sega had announced that the Dreamcast would have full internet access as well as online gameplay capabilities. In a comment from Interact's own J. Randy Gordon left on the Sharkwire videos he posted, he alluded to Sharkwire being released late in the N64's life cycle as part of the reason for its failure. The sales lag in the cycle of the N64 at the time of Sharkwire's launch hampered the possibility of getting into more retailers besides EB and Babbage's, and the price point of $79, the margin was not really that high, may have been too rich for the N64 consumer at the time. Why do you think that Sharkwire didn't see the same level of success as, Game Shark and Interact's other products?
I think it would have been a really, really good alternative to the internet. It was just too ahead of its time. But with the Sharkwire, you were locked to that room of whoever was providing content. And if someone you enjoyed on the normal internet, kid or adult, was not on the Sharkwire's closed environment, there was no need for you to ever buy that.
Gamers are a different breed, I mean, they're still kind of countercultural, they're still kind of cynical, and they're still kind of like, if I'm going to tell you, what sites you're allowed to look at, then, you're already, not going to be, you're not going to love the content that my team comes up with.
It was so far ahead of its time, I think that it didn't plan the trip out first. It seems so weird at the time to say, oh, I can go on the internet, my N64, whatever. But then you look at modern consoles and that's literally, they have their Sharkwires built in. They've got web browsers, they've got interactive guidebooks with, I think, the PlayStation 5. You're sending messages to and from each other, and you never have to pick up your phone or go back to a computer. So it might not have been the rock star it could have been, but it was definitely the building block for those that came after it.
I, for one, love that Interact came up with Sharkwire Online. Despite its shortcomings, it was an incredibly ambitious product that was pushing the Nintendo 64 to do something it was never really meant to do. And if you were a faithful Interact customer, it made using their other products like the Dex Drive and Game Shark easier. Sharkwire Online may have been a miss, but Interact deserves a lot of credit for even daring to take such a big, risky swing.
Hey, to everybody who supported Interact and, of course, particularly the Game Shark, I just want you to know that I not only appreciate it, it was the most fun ride I've ever had in my life.
If you'd like to see my videos ad-free and a little bit early, as well as get access to 2 exclusive videos that haven't been available on my channel for years, you can do so by becoming a Patreon member at patreon.com/wrestlingwithgaming, or by signing up for a YouTube membership here once I enable those. I want to give a huge thank you to Jason Dvorak for helping me with this video. Jason has a great YouTube channel, Game Rave TV, that I really recommend checking out. A great place to start is with his PlayStation 30th anniversary video, which I've linked in the description and pinned comment below. And finally, a big thank you to Todd Hayes for being so generous with his time. Todd and I are actually planning on working together on a few other video topics, as well as some other projects, so this won't be the last time that you see Todd on this channel. Thank you for watching.